Thank you very much everyone coming this evening. And I'm going to read out the Chair's introduction to meetings at the View. Thank you to all members of the public, councillors and officers who are joining us for today's meeting. Please be aware that the council is video recording this meeting and this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. I would just like to highlight some key points in the meeting format. Please can I ask everyone to have their phones turned off or set to silent. If council has any concerns about hearing or seeing others in the meeting, please let the chair or a council officer know straight away. The fire exits are clearly marked, with 2 in this room being the closest. The assembly point is the flat grass area by the patio. Please remain seated unless you're invited to speak or need to take a comfort break. The toilet facilities are out in the corridor. Members of the public are invited to participate in the meeting with the key points as follows. When the public participate agenda item is introduced, please raise your hand to show you wish to speak, and I'll invite you to speak. If you're comfortable standing, please do so to ensure you can be heard across the room. Public participation is limited to a maximum of 4 minutes per person. You do not need to state your name when you start speaking. I would ask that participants looking to leave the meeting wait until the end of an agenda item to limit distractions for other participants. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. If any councillor feels concerned about any aspect of the meeting or discussion, please clearly state, point of order. I will then gesture for you to elaborate. If anyone present is felt to be behaving unacceptably, they can be ejected from the meeting by resolution. Thank you for listening. On behalf of the council, I would like to thank everyone for attending to this town council meeting. So, agenda item number 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. We have one apology. Councillor Sam Asnidi is unfortunately unwell. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2, disclosure of interests. To deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosable pecuniary interests and interests other than pecuniary interests as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and the Localism Act 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. No? Okay, thank you very much. Then on to agenda item number 3, which is public participation. Oh gosh, I'm going to start right and then go left. So, lady with the glasses on.
Thank you. So, good evening, shade glasses, you can't see. So, good evening everyone. Good evening, Chair. Prior to this meeting, I did send an email to all councillors. I am hoping you've had a chance to read it. I am shocked and dismayed with the new revised toilet design shown at Appendix B and how much has drastically changed. 1.4 of your report states that at a full council meeting in October 22, the council approved the original design shown at Appendix A, new toilet facilities and a refreshment concession. This reflected the hard work put in by the working group and the residents of Seaford. There are at least 23,000 residents in Seaford and the majority, including visitors, welcomed indoor seating and cafe on the seafront, an area that can be prone to very wet and windy weather. Furthermore, this new design lacks the duty of care on spending public money, and any project should reflect a majority, not a minority. Also, a larger refreshment concession would bring in a considerable amount of revenue. The fact that the revised design is based on 19 people is hardly a good reflection of the 22,000 residents. Which of those 19 asked for a change in places, and on what date was this consultation and where? The fact that the new design will need planning permission could potentially delay the build further. Why was the change in places not submitted as part of the planning permission on the approved design? How can the revised design be approved on estimated cost and no actual to scale design? Where is the breakdown of cost? I seriously urge you, and to prevent further delays, please do not approve the new revised toilet design, as there was nothing wrong with the original and was a good reflection of the residents of Seaford and a more cost-effective design. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Alan Latham, Chinkton Way. I'd like to follow on from the previous comments concerning the toilets. I was actually a councillor in 2015 when the toilets first came into view, as it were, for refurbishment. And the design was approved on February the 9th, 2017. And here we are, considerably further on than that, still talking about the design of the toilets. And I felt nothing really wrong with the previous design, other than the fact that the toilets were unisex, and time has moved on regarding unisex toilets now, and still the toilets are unisex. And I would urge the council to think twice about this, and think very carefully about allocating male and female loos, and even in this day and age, probably biological female and biological male loos as well. Because this is a serious issue, and it's an issue that's going to keep on coming back, and we need to be aware of this in our decision making. Thank you very much.
I think to say so far, we will come back at the end to say, I'm sure on both of those submissions, all councillors have heard those points that have been made, so we won't make any comment at this stage. We will discuss the item on the agenda, but councillors will have heard the comments made. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Chat at the vote.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two items, two comments about item 12, the Martello toilets. The previous council spent many hours researching and deliberating, including setting up a work group to decide the best way forward for the redevelopment of these toilets. We're now in year 6 and beyond and still have no working solution. The agreed and finance plan was to produce an internal refurbishment with a covered cabin space where residents could sit out of the elements and enjoy a cuppa during the winter months. A separate and unique changing places unit was also agreed where the existing toilet is. That would be a first for Seaford. The kiosk facility would then be located within the building. Item 12.3.2, 19 responses on the consultation out of properly 18,000 residents, adult residents. A very low response, which may indicate that 17,981 residents are satisfied with the plan. Item 12.3.5. I understand that 3 out of 19 residents requested more toilets, so 15% of respondents. Not a very high score. The actual number is not specified. Based on that score, council staff have decided to change the agreed plan. Why? I note from item 12.19.1 that a further planning request will need to be submitted, so a further delay will be caused to the build. I request that councillors endorse the original plan on page 22 as being the best and most attractive option for the Seaford and Martello. Item 2, replacement eco toilets. I'm not a councillor, but I've received 7 complaints in Seaford residents about these toilets, including the toilets are not user-friendly, they are unsuitable for disabled persons due to the steep access. I couldn't get into them, and I'm only slightly disabled. The doors are banging about in the wind and are a hazard and a noise nuisance. They look like some residue from a music festival, perhaps Glastonbury. There is sawdust everywhere in the cubicles, and there is a noxious smell coming from the cubicles, and the sawdust box has no cover, so the sawdust becomes unusable when it's wet, if it ever rains in Seaford. It's not a very good advertisement for the leisure facilities on the seafront. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Louise Lawrence. I'm the new Head of Assets, Projects and Services, and I have some of the facilities team with me today, Helen and Sharon. On the combustible toilets, thank you for your comments. The doors, yes, we're aware there's a problem. We're going to put self-closers on those, so that should sort that out. In terms of the sawdust, there is a lid coming for the box, and we have about to launch consultations, ask the public what they think about them. We've got an option of putting the usual toilets in instead of the compostable ones. Basically, from October, we will have no toilets at all. So we will have to make a decision about what we put instead of that. The accessibility of the compostable toilets, they come in banks, and there is accessible toilets that we can put there as well, because there's two accessible toilets there at the moment as part of the building. We haven't put accessible compostable toilets in, but we can do. So that consultation will give an opportunity for the public to say what they think about the toilets, and we can have a look at that in September when that closes and see what you think going forward. We will need to put portable toilets there from October all the way through the winter while the refurb's going on. In terms of emptying and costs, the compostable toilets cost significantly less to empty. They empty less frequently, and on top of that, we're not quite sure how. We'll have to wait down the Portaloos if we put them there because of the wind. So we're not having a wind problem at the moment. So there's a number of issues with whichever option the public decide they want us to pursue. The compost is used locally and collected locally that comes from the toilets.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Olivia.
Good evening, Chair and councillors. I'd like to talk about item 13, which is walk the chalk. We've already sent quite a few things in. I'm one of the residents in the area. So, I mean, really, we're really excited. It's great that it's happening on our doorstep, all of these things. What we're really asking for is just clarity on what the traffic management plan is going to be and how this is communicated. Because today, for example, it went out in Sussex Life with completely the wrong directions. So we're really asking for clarity on what's going to be happening, because in the area there's quite a few elderly people and people with some needs, and they are going to become quite worried about everything with this lack of information that we've been getting. So that's really what we wanted to say is, you know, we really appreciate it. It's a great idea. Just could we have some information? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak in public participation? Right, so I was told to ask yourself to come last, so would you like to speak now?
Yeah, thank you. In answer to the lady that just spoke, the traffic management plan, we've been doing a lot of work on that, and that's hopefully what we're going to sort out this evening, and once we've got that approved, then we can publish that and make that information available. Sussex Life, really embarrassing. They have a very long lead time, so that information was sent to them by our comms team quite some time ago, so it's just very unfortunate that it was published now, so I'm sorry about that. But I thought that now would be a good time to sort of counter some of the misinformation really that I've become aware of, because I've seen quite a few emails containing kind of rumours and things that are either not happening or were never going to happen or we didn't say. So I just wanted to sort of try and soothe some local anxieties about that really. First thing is our closing time is 9 o'clock every evening. We're not planning any late night walks, any dark skies walks. Some people have asked to see our event management plan, and just to clarify, an event management plan is a live document. It's being constantly updated, so it's not in the public realm because the information is changing all the time. It has to. No information is being intentionally held back from the community. There are some things that we're still working on, some things that we've had to revise, and as soon as things are confirmed and agreed, and hopefully that will be something that happens this evening, then we will make sure this information is in the public realm on the website, and we are going to do a further letter drop to residents as well. I think everybody locally has had a hand-delivered letter now. There was a question about our monthly stakeholder meetings. So just to clarify, those stakeholders, it's a very specific interpretation of the word, which is that stakeholders are people who have either invested in the project, supported the project, or are giving their sort of specialist expert advice. So that is a limited pool of people. Well, I say it's limited, there's actually quite a few of them, aren't there? Quite a few stakeholders in this place. There was some confusion about the role of our community manager, Christina. Her job is to engage community groups in the sense of schools and vulnerable people, isolated groups, and she's doing really successfully with that. We've done 25 school visits now, and quite a lot of specialist walks with isolated and vulnerable groups up there. There was I think a rumour that there was an intention to carry out a public consultation. That just wouldn't be usual practice when planning an event like this, so I think that's maybe where the confusion came from. We've engaged over 150 local people as volunteers on the project, which I think is absolutely fantastic, and a great show of community support. Our social media channels are busy, and I'd urge you all to follow them, walkthechalk_Sussex. Our website is up and running, and there's a lot more content going on there soon, as I say, as we get things and once they're confirmed. And we're sending out regular newsletters as well, so please sign up to the website and you will get those updates. We recently have done a couple of walks around the site with Lewis District Councillors, and that went really, really well. So I'd like to extend that invitation to all of you as well, and I'll circulate something, I think probably via Sharon, in the next week or so, and I think we'll probably go for early evening, but I'll be guided by you on that. And just on a really positive note, we've finalised and been granted permission by Natural England for all of our installations. They're all being created by local artists, some of them really quite eminent. We've got an amazing programme of entertainment at the barn, it's all free. Everything we're doing is aimed at getting the community into this amazing place so that they can experience the benefits of being in the great outdoors. That's what this is fundamentally about, and we mustn't lose sight of that. Tickets for everything are free, and they're all going to be online soon. It's just a question of making some final tweaks, getting some final agreements, and honing our plans a little bit more. So I hope everybody will come along and join us, and I hope that's assuaged some of your concerns as well.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Phil. I'm the project manager for Walk the Chalk. I have in my hand the latest version of our traffic management plan, which needs to be signed off by our stakeholders and Seaford Town Council. It's been a journey because we obviously have been wanting to get people as close to the venue as possible, especially for our accessibility needs. We've had many options which have fallen through, and we now have our last option, which is the Martello Fields, which is page point 13, 4.4, and we run a shuttle service, which it's not ideal when you're running an event when we know that some people are going to turn up by traffic, by car. So what we intend in this management plan is to have parking in the Seaford and Martello Fields, east and west. We're working with our event partners, and we're working with our security and stewarding firm to make that a safe and feasible option. We're working with Cookmere Buses and RDH. Cookmere Buses will be supplying free services from all the local Newhaven Station, Seaford Station, the View here, South Hill Barn, and the Sussex, the Seven Sisters Visitors Centre. RDH will hopefully be shuttling people from the Martello Fields to South Hill Barn. So that will be the basis of what we're doing. We know how many people, we've done a study on the field, how many cars we can fit in. We've been very generous with the space that we give them. We think the shuttle will be running every 10 minutes, taking 53 people. So that's quite a lot of people. That's like one car turning up every minute. Is at the capacity we have. What this does do is this eases a massive glut of vehicles turning up to Chinkton Way and trying to get up. So we've decided that the best thing to do is to close off that access up to the top and divert everybody to our satellite parking in Martello Fields. We're also hoping, this is on agreement of course with Seaford Town Council and our partners, to actually close Chinkton Way during the live times of the event, so they're not troubled by anyone trying to get down, and we'll be stewarding that, so people will be coming to the roundabout and going around, and being, if they do find their way, they think they can get past the traffic signs, or they're not informed of where to go, they'll be told where to go. So we're hoping to do that, and we're hoping to keep traffic minimal going up to South Hill Barn, although we are encouraging most people, as far as possible, to take our public transport, which is free, and also to walk and to cycle to the event, obviously not to cycle on the reserve. So we've been thinking about this in great deal, and it's just how things evolve and how things move when you're running a big event. Things change. And this is kind of, it's not a last-ditch saloon, but it's like, this is the option. It was in the table, it was on the table when we started, but it's now come down to, this is kind of our only option left, which is feasible to run the event that we're running, which we think is a massive asset to this town. And it actually will bring people closer to the town instead of just going to South Hill Barn and then going away and not actually engaging. That means I've got 15 seconds left. So I better speak a bit faster. 15 seconds left. So when we get to that point, if people want to ask us about it, we do have to agree. We can't release this, obviously. We need to agree this with our stakeholders and with Seaford Town Council. But we feel like this is a plan which everybody is on board with, that we know it's been suggested in all of our stakeholder meetings. So we hope, again, that is clarifying what's going to happen. Chinkton Way, we hope is going to have a really lovely time, being very quiet over that period, quieter than probably normally. So that's where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did anyone else want to speak in public participation? No? Okay, thank you very much. Right, agenda item number 4, which is minutes. Right, agenda item number 4, 4.1, full council. We do have an amendment to the minutes that were sent out, which is on communications update. To be added, I'll read out the whole piece. Full council consider report 26/23, updating councils on how best internal communications are carried out and trail future developments. Members discussed the report. This next part is the amendment, and feedback was gathered ahead of reports being brought back to full council. It was then resolved to note the contents of the report. So please can I have a proposer? Please list for the whole of the minutes, including the amendment. Proposer for the full council minutes, please. Councillor Walraven and a second, Councillor Borman. Then on to 4.2, community services. Can I have a proposer and a seconder, and then all in Councillor Meek, and then all in favour? Thank you very much. Then on to finance and general purposes. Can I have a proposal for finance and general purposes? Councillor Bristow, Councillor Roy, and then all in favour? Thank you. Then planning and highways, 15th of June, and I take the two together, and 6th of July as well. A proposer and a seconder, Councillor Foreman, and then all in favour. Thank you. Right, so we're then on to the Mayor's update report. Do you have any questions or? No, thank you very much. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor, and a seconder, Councillor Rutland, and then all in favour. Thank you. Number 6, which is Town Council Working Group reports. It says on here that there are no working group reports for this meeting.
Correct.
Then on to agenda item number 7, which is outdoor body representative reports. Do we have any outdoor body representative reports?
Nope.
Thank you. I do know some councillors are starting to email reports round as well, so that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Then on to agenda item number 8, which is District and County Councillor Update Report. Do we have Councillor Bristow?
Hi, thank you. Speaking as the North District Councillor for Seaford West, I'd just like to update everyone here on 2 items which are happening and coming up. One is that the North District Council have issued a consultation on playgrounds within the district, including the Valley Dip Princess Drive playground, which is running until the 25th of August, so it'd be great to have as much participation in that as possible, and the Town Council have shared it on the socials. So it's available on the website, and there should be a QR code displayed at the playground as well for users to input their thoughts and ideas. And the other one is to let people know that there's going to be a trial of a separate food waste collection for Seaford West and also for Seaford East using electric vehicles. So the main waste may be collected at a different time to the food waste, so that residents aren't surprised when that happens. Anyway, it's being publicised through the District Council channels as well, but just to let people know the updates.
Councillor Brett.
Thank you, Chair and Councillors. Councillor Christine Brett, Seaford South District Council. I just want to give you an update to the public inquiry into McCarthy and Stone's plan to redevelop the Conclave plus building 40 apartments, because that's been taking place over 4 days in Lewis this week. I just want to say how much the neighbours who've been speaking and myself appreciate the support we've had from Mr Johnson, who's been very reassuring in a situation most of them have never experienced, and I think some of them are quite intimidated by it. The District Council are opposing the development on living conditions, the character and appearance of the building, heritage issues and accessibility and transport. McCarthy and Stone can have no doubt about the strength of feeling from residents about the traffic management issues in our narrow streets and road safety, especially when hundreds of children pass by every day at the peak times of going to school and coming back. And the inspector told me today that he witnessed that when he went there on Monday on an informal visit. It goes without saying that everyone spoke about insufficient health service infrastructure. The inspector and representatives from both sides toured the area this afternoon before the summing up tomorrow, and I went with them, and Mr Johnson was there for some other time as well. I do envisage it will be a few weeks before a decision is actually published, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Secondly, like all councillors, I've had numerous complaints about the lack of grass cutting in LDC parks in the town. I'm informed by officers that after a difficult wet start to the season with plant breakdowns and lack of staffing, the cutting regime, which should be 3 weekly, is catching up. Thirdly, the licensing committee. I'm just going to say a little bit about this because I see we have the vice chair of the licensing committee here as well. Compulsory CCTV will be introduced in the Lewis district by the 30th of September, and that consultation into audio is about to take place as well. Major concern that the number of hackney cabs and drivers is shrinking fast, and that's something I think some of the older people in the town are going to become more concerned about soon, because people are already saying they're having trouble getting cabs. And finally, I just want to let you all know that the steering group for Seaford Ukraine, which I've been leading since last summer, is standing down from August the 11th. We want to thank Seaford Town Council for the support they gave us, especially in the early days with enabling the use of the old town hall to run the cafe and support meetings. Most of the Ukrainian friends we've helped are now settled into jobs here or elsewhere, although some have returned to Ukraine to support family there. And I'll send our social media statement into offices, and I hope you'll share it as well. It's been on Facebook already, and it will be appearing in Seaford Scene in September. And thank you to everybody who supported Seaford for Ukraine and the people who we've been sharing our town with, and still are in some cases. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anyone else do leading the county council? This is the district councillor and county councillor section.
Yeah, I've got an update from Carolyn Lambert. That's something that I was inquired about.
Is that county council?
County council, yes. Shall I do it at this point?
Yes.
Yeah. So I asked Carolyn Lambert about the changing places provision in Warwick House, and she has informed me that East Sussex County Council is looking to revive that provision in the library and it's likely that the decision will be made in the autumn of this year. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that was on the cards.
Thank you.
She apologises she couldn't be here because she had another appointment. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, thank you very much. We are then on to agenda item number 9, which is programme of lease work to provide full council with an overview of the leases held by the town council.
Thank you, Chair. In her absence, I'd like to thank Georgia Rayburn, our compliance officer, for this report and table. I think for councillors this is a really good example of our new staffing structure in action, bringing greater method, process and purpose to our work over time, continuous improvement by our council. What George has presented in the report, I would say, is a clear programme of work, clear rationale, with again a clear programme for council to see what will be happening and when. So I'm happy to hand back to you, Chair, for any questions and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Mead.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just hope there had been some various letters going back and forth, emails going back and forth to councillors about concerned residents who aren't satisfied with leasing arrangements in the town, with some concessions and some clubs and societies and things. I have heard that we're going to get on top of this, and I know Louise is going to get on top of this. I would like to say that there was a planning meeting at Lewis District Council last week, at which 2 Seaford Town Football Club items were on that agenda. I was allowed to be at the planning meeting for those 2 agenda items as it happens, because being a member of Seaford Town Council, it was considered I might be impartial about casting my vote on that. But I would like to tell you that both the increase in floodlighting to 22 days, match days a year, and also to the advertising banners that are around the ground at the moment, both were approved by Lewis District Council, just for your information if you had missed that. So those are changes that will go forward in the leasing arrangements that we can arrange now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Any further questions? Councillor Rutland.
There's a comprehensive list of leases. Is there also a list of licences? Because obviously I notice, for example, in the Salts we've got the base, we've got the Scout Hut, we've got the clubhouse, the rugby clubhouse, the cricket pavilion, the lifeguard storage. No mention of cafe. Is that on a lease, or is that?
That's a fair point. That is one of our concessions, and concessions come through the concessions process that goes through community services.
So is that classed as a lease or a license?
That's a license because it's a concession.
Okay. Do we have a list of all the licences?
Yeah, they go through community services each year. So
right.
that's what it is.
Okay, so that's why it's not. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Gorman.
I was going to ask about all the concessions.
Okay, that's fine. Councillor Bristol.
Just wanted to say it's good to see all this information being brought together on the various leases and what stage they're at and the timings and so on, which I think is a great move forward for the council. And I know there have been, as Councillor Meek has said, various emails querying, for example, the rent that's charged and so on. I gather that's in hand and go through the relevant Finance and General Purposes Committee and there'll be reviews and so on. So you can just confirm that and then, yes, happy moving forward. Thank you.
Yes, basically yes. I mean, as really as the report shows and the table shows, really. As I say, we'll be comprehensive about each lease and make sure everyone is happy with the arrangements at the appropriate time as set out within the report.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Sorry. Shall I just come back again? Some of those emails backwards and forwards from perhaps concerned residents have questioned some of the legality, and I do hope we will be looking into the legality of where the town council stands in respect to the previous leases that were held by Lewis District Council, because I would hate us to fall into the trap of not actually having our terms absolutely up to date and being consistent with what they were before. I would hate us to be left open to any kind of legal comeback on that. Thank you.
Okay, that's noted, Councillor Lee.
Thank you. Any further questions? Right, thank you. We are asked to note the contents of the up-to-date report. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Bristow and seconder, Councillor Rutland. And all in favour? Thank you. Agenda item number 10, to seek approval to obtain a town council debit card for the head of assets, projects and services and for the assets and projects manager.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'm very grateful to Lucy Clark, our finance manager, not only for this report, but also for the work she's been taking forward. As you know, Karen, our RFO, recently retired. We have a new RFO, and we're working with Lucy. Lucy's stepping up and doing more as well, which I really appreciate. Again, it's the report there shows why these additional cards are needed, and I'm happy to hand back to you, Chair, for any questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Rutland?
I see 1.4, the card shall not exceed £1,000. Is that per transaction or in total on the card?
Yes, Sharon,
It's
come on.
per transaction.
Okay. Is there a limit to the number of transactions?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. I have a field day.
Any further questions? Right, then we are asked to give approval for the finance manager to apply for a town council debit card for the head of assets, projects and services and the assets and project manager in accordance with the town council's purchase ordering and payment for goods and services policy. Can I have a proposal, please?
Sorry, can I just ask for one small amendment, that there is a cap, so that you can't have more than, say, £25,000 in 1 month or something, so that we don't get run away with lots of £1,000 transactions.
Okay. So we'll add that on to the end of the motion, Councillor Rutland. The motion does say that we're acting in accordance with Town Council's purchase ordering and payment for goods and services policy. So all of the payments on the card would have to go through our policies and financial regulations for them to be able to be made.
Yeah.
So as this motion says. But we'll put with an appropriate total cap in place on the end of the motion for you.
Thank you.
Councillor Ross?
Hi, the limit is £5,000, I understand, but as Jeff said, we don't want lots of £1,000 going in. So per item, £1,000, is that what you're saying, per item? So if a transaction might be 1,000, but that item might be 254 times, not 1,000 10 times. Can you just clarify, please?
Yeah, I think it's as we've said, that all the transactions will be in accordance with the purchase ordering and payment for goods and services policy. So this will only be for approved expenditure. It's simply another mechanism of paying for that expenditure is what's being recorded here. And as I say, so we're putting in, so an appropriate cap in place on the motion as well. So that should provide sufficient clarification.
Shall we go to, is everyone happy to vote on the amendment? Right, can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Sturton. Councillor, and a seconder, please. Councillor Rutland. I want to call everyone by their first name, so I have to keep remembering first name. Thank you. And all in favour? Thank you. Right, agenda item number 11. Purpose of report to alert full council to a current consultation relevant to Seaford, so a response from the town council can be considered and framed.
Thank you, Chair. As the report says, we're very happy to take some brief comments now, maybe run this for maybe about 10 minutes, and then they will be pulled together into a response from the council. As this goes without saying, but I know all town councils understand the position of a town council in this process is one of complete political impartiality. So obviously whatever is submitted from the town council will simply be, like a statement that is clearly on that basis. And I'm sure you're all familiar with that in terms of how we would run things in any case. Okay, Chair, happy to hand back to you if anyone wants to make any comments. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Bristol. Councillor Sturton, please. Ruth.
I've moved the name.
I know you have. And Christina put her hand up as well. So.
And we may say similar things. The demographics of Seaford are such that having an accessible, open ticket office and staff at the train station is particularly important when we think about elderly people, perhaps with issues about accessing the internet. We've got disabled people who might need to speak to somebody, we've got blind people who need support. The list is very long. Closing the ticket office will have a significant impact, significant negative impact on many residents in the town.
Thank you. Councillor Bristow.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide feedback. We're at the end of the line here in Seaford. I think having a ticket office which is open and staffed is so important for all the reasons which Councillor Sturton has said, and also because sometimes people want to purchase tickets which are perhaps a bit more complex than just your, back to Brighton, return to Brighton or return to Lewis. They're perhaps going further away, they're going to the ticket office in advance to get their ticket at the best price in 2 or 3 sections, and then they come home, they know they can get the train, so whenever they're travelling in peaks, not everyone is comfortable with doing that kind of thing on the internet. And also I think as a town we want to be encouraging not just our active travel but low carbon travel, public transport and so on, and keeping that station open and friendly and inviting for people I think is really important, so that they feel they've got alternatives to car.
Thank you. Councillor Hurrah.
Yeah, really pleased that this is on the agenda tonight, and I should apologise for arriving slightly late. I was caught up in the train strikes.
These are only for you.
Yeah. So, as I'd like to echo both the comments previously made, and also on the accessibility issues, I would particularly like to highlight the effect that it has on blind people and people with sight loss, because having a central spot to go to is really important for them to be able to get help when they're travelling. And that is the sort of central point of a ticket office. It's a central point for people to go to when they're visiting. And we get a lot of visitors to Seaford, so having somewhere people can go to seek help is also really important. And we'd like that reflected in our response. Thank you.
Councillor Honeyman.
Thank you very much, Chair and Madam Mayor. Yes, everything I've heard so far I support. Both Councillor Holder and myself are on the Seaford to Brighton Community Rail Partnership. They're now in no Sussex line, but there's the various regional and national bodies are doing it collectively. But this is obviously the local response, obviously, as opposed to the regional and national. They'll obviously do it in a more strategic way, no doubt. So they can't, and they obviously they'll be doing apolitical, neutral anyway, which we'll be doing ourselves here as a town council. What I was also going to say, sometimes I guess just generally ticket office staff stations all over by more than just the services selling tickets. So is that presence at a station, and what you'll basically get is more and more ghost stations. And basically, I know they can argue they can, but just having a presence does stop petty vendors and everything else that could or may not happen on any particular railway station. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Meek.
Very quickly, just to highlight, something else is on the agenda. We've already heard about Walk-the-Chalk, who are trying to get people to travel by public transport. If we have more events like this, obviously it's very crucial that there is information available at the station. People will go to the ticket office and ask about local information as well as tickets. So that's another conduit for information. They don't know necessarily when they turn up where the tourist information centre is. So these are very important communication hubs that we do need to keep open for our tourists and for everybody in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Comments? Right, thank you very much. Yeah. Right, I was asked to note the current consultation on staffing arrangements at train stations and provide feedback to inform a response from Seaford Town Council to be submitted by the Town Clerk based on feedback from councillors and the meeting. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Rutland, second Councillor Hurrah, and all in favour? Thank you.
Chair.
Agenda item number 12. To provide full council with an update on the Martello Toilets project and present a revised proposal for consideration.
I know this carries a lot of emotion and lots of contributions around it, so I'll be really brief and say that the full council October 22 agreed that we would refurbish the Martello toilets. The existing design of the refurbishment is Appendix A. There was public consultation at the time to check that that plan that was agreed was accepted by the public, and we had responses, multiple concerns of reduction in the number of toilets and due to the inclusion of the cafe area. Revised proposal was given planning permission in April 2023, and what we've done now is, in light of the consultation, we've just had a look at whether we could put more toilets into the building, and that's in Appendix B. The alternative layout provides a change in place of facility within the building rather than outside, and that is why you will see approximately a 70,000 saving on the budget. It also increases the number of toilets, and we know at the moment that the current number of toilets in the Martello block doesn't service the use that we are experiencing. So partly this revised plan was an opportunity to give youth councillors just a second view on how many toilets do we need and align with the thoughts that are coming back from the consultation. In terms of the kiosk, we wouldn't do anything with that, that would stay exactly where it is. And so in the original plan that was to be taken down, but that would stay. We've got a works programme in there looking at how we would or when we'd start to build. So that looks like mid-October. And in terms of planning, so planning has come up as a couple of points from the public. We don't think the revised design will need planning. We're not certain. We would definitely ask formally, and if it does, we've been told that it won't affect the build start date because it's actually a toilet block for a toilet block. And yeah, there is no planning for the current change of places permission, so that would need to be sought if we go with Appendix A.
Thank you. Any questions? Right, Councillor Bristol.
I have two connected questions, which relate to the provision of the concession aspect of the building. If we go for Appendix A with the concession being inside the building, how much would we charge in terms of rent in the lease for that compared to what we currently charge at the kiosk as it is at the moment? And if we decide to go with Appendix B, second question, what is the prospect of improving the cafe facility where the kiosk currently is? Is there any prospect in the future of making that into something better with perhaps an indoor area or sheltered area, or is that not possible? Just thinking further ahead. If you know.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Rutland.
We've been consulting the hell out of this subject for the last 7 years. In the working party run by Councillor Law, we came up with what was a very workable design, and I don't see why we need to change it. To paraphrase one of my mother's expressions, we just need to get on with the business or get off the pot. Stop consulting and start doing. We came up with a design that works. It was costly, it works. Why are we consulting again? It's a complete waste of time. We should just get on with it.
Thank you. Councillor Borman.
Any questions you want to take before we start?
That's enough.
That's enough, okay.
I didn't realise we were gathering. Okay, so on the two questions you asked, yes, there is a possibility to look at putting something in place of the kiosk. That will be for councillors to decide. You could, one of the things we're considering is much like these water sports, having a container and actually having something along that lines, which would be quite a new offer. But yeah, that could definitely be considered. In terms of the cost or the income we get from the kiosk, I don't know what that is. Sharon, do you have an idea of what the income from the kiosk is?
I don't have the figures to hand, but it is a tender and not a flat rate cost. So each concession that's a tender is at a different price. so we can get that information to you.
Yeah, but I think the concern on the cafe being inside the toilets is at the appeal of people using the cafe, knowing that it's actually in the middle of the toilet block, and the history in the area around Martello toilets. So that's our concern. And then does that answer both of your,
as well as it can do, I think.
okay. So in terms of your point, the problem we got is the toilets, as they stand, with the number of toilets we have, is insufficient for the seafront. They are constantly flooding, they're broken, and what we looked at was what can we do to actually, if we're rebuilding, put more toilets in to address that need. The plan, as you've got it now, is less toilets than we currently have. So it's just about offering that opportunity. We're concerned we'll build something and then be constantly there, cleaning them out and rodding them and closing them.
Okay.
Okay.
So can I just add something to this? Observation more than anything. I wasn't part of the original planning.
Sorry, can we?
Awesome.
Is it right to interject,
Is it okay?
or because we've got Councillor Baum and Councillor Lord to speak first?
I beg your pardon, I've got my back to everybody. I can't see.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Baum.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can I ask, when in January full council agreed these new plans, we agreed the changing places toilet where the kiosk was going to be. Why wasn't that then put into the planning permission when we changed the planning permission?
Because if when RISE deal with your changing places processes, they handle the planning application part of it themselves.
Right, okay. We obviously do need the changing places toilet. That was one thing that residents loved with the plans with the changing places that was going to be next door. A lot of them like the cafe idea. They want the cafe, they want somewhere to sit inside because of the weather. This has been going on, not just the last administration, the administration before that, and the administration before that. This has been going on for years. It's delay after delay after delay. I'm not sure what number of plans we're up to now. Is it about 10, 12 different designs we've had over all the years? Actually, we don't need any more delay. What residents want is these toilets sorted now, and we're just putting more delays and more delays in. So I think we need to stick with the original designs we had in January that have got planning approval for it and move on from there.
Thank you. Councillor Lord was next.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be honest with you, I truthfully give up. We had a working party which went on to involve cross-party members. It went on for quite some time. I think I did 6 scheme designs and we actually came with one which we thought fulfilled certain needs. The first thing we have something which is a hut, which is like a screen van, which is a concession, as you want to call it. We wanted to incorporate that into the design. We then had the changing places, which are very political and extremely expensive item to go with. A changing place, to comply with changing place regulations, excuse me, has to be a modular unit to comply with. There's only one company in the UK do it, and as the town clerk said, it comes at the back of the wagon, they do the planning application. It applies to the control, part 10, the disabled access, etc. That was going to go with concessions. The services which are in the existing building were going to connect to the changing places by means of a trench, which will be incorporated in this particular specification. We then had to look at the fact that one of the main things when I was doing the surveys around it, the people wanted to sit outside on facing the sea, on the existing seats. We're keeping that. We're keeping that. The other thing is that people wanted was a service actually be actually access the coffees and teas to sit outside. We then looked at the fact that when you have a fully compliant Part N disabled loo, which we've got here, We've got 2 ambient loos, and these ambient loos are for baby changing, etc. So we have baby changing facilities as well as a toilet. We have 4 unisex toilets. Basically, everywhere you go in the UK now, unisex. What we did was 2 gents and 2 ladies, and the 2 gents are permanently not used, and there's a queue mile long for the ladies. We then come to a situation, and I can fully understand what members and officers say. When we have an event, these toilets are flogged to death. So therefore, why don't the members and officers say, when you have an event, you have a minimum of 6 portaloos per event. We made that as a condition that they rent the Martel Field. And I suggested that when we have the wall for the chalk as well. That on 6 on out of the field to keep the people away from going inside here. The construction of these, if you want to go on to the toilet at Elverson, Dean Car Park, those will improve what we've done. The specification is for them, is what we have here. The petitions are vandal resistant. The detail on them is that the floor curves up to the wall, and the wall comes down above the flooring. So there's no damage or water can get behind the walls. The ceilings are reinforced with 3/4 inch marine ply, so they can't be damaged. What's the thing? Yeah, on the one you've got in front of you here, option B, it shows the seating being moved back. What you're doing there, you're creating an area for youths to congregate in the evening. I've noticed these toilets regular over the last few weeks, and on more than one occasion, there's at least 1 or 2 of the convenience stores, I call them traps for easy word, traps boarded up because of vandalism. You go to the gents, there's kids in there selling drugs on a regular basis. You'll notice on here, all the doors open outwards. So that prevents anti-social behaviour. The bins are locked away in secure stores. More importantly, I have to say this. This has got full planning and building control. It's cost this council about £5,000 to get planning and building control. The design going forward will need full planning and building control approval again. So therefore, if members wish to do so, they can issue another £5,000 of ratepayers' money in Seaford, if they so feel inclined to do so. I will also ask that we have recorded votes on this, so everybody knows exactly where we stand with regards to spending money once, and then repeats the process twice. I think that is about it. We've been around the houses, As it stands now, we've got expressions of interest to local contractors. If we continue the route we're going down with existing design with full planning, building control, we will then be in a position to, after the expression of interest, to narrow it down to say 6 local good contractors, with a view to starting in October. After that process, there'll be a tender evaluation process, references, and award of the contract early in the new year. We'll start probably February. We're out of the season now. In the meantime, we'll close them, the reports losing the site, and the expressions with regards to blowing away, they actually bulk down to the ground. So we have that as well. So I'll leave it as it is. We go back to the drawing board again, the consultation. Oh, by the way, I meant to say, out of the 18 people who actually recorded interested, there was only 4 people out of 20,000 adults said there's not enough toilets. So we have 4 people telling officers and members how we should redesign a toilet bowl. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, if I may, just to thank you, Councillor Law, a couple of things. The changing places will be inside, not outside, so we will still have a change in places, just to say that in the Appendix B design. We're not expecting any time delay, we're expecting build to start mid-October. And yeah, we've noticed about the doors going outwards. There'll be a proper architect's plan coming forward if the motion's passed. If it isn't, we've
Right,
Can
Councillor.
I just come back to that very, very quickly? I'm sorry to be a pain in the ass. Just so you know, I'm a surveyor with 40 years experience. We've looked at changing places with Wealdon District Council. We've looked at changes right across Wealdon. And we want to support changing places in the leisure centre at Hailsham. And although we got the right size for it, to make everything to fit into an existing building is very complicated. Because you've got to remember, it has to have quite a sophisticated hoist system in it. It needs a shower in it. It needs a lot of other facilities. It's not just a change place where you go and change your clothes. This is very, very severely disabled people to have their dignity and to be able to change in a place which is fit for its purpose and has to comply to some standards. To get this through planning would be difficult. To get it past building control would be extremely difficult because you put it in an existing building. Building control don't like that.
Thank you. Councillor Buchanan was next.
Yes, Chair. Thank you, Councillor York, for that update. I was just going to make the point that I wasn't involved with the original planning. My understanding is that there were supposed to be 2 phases to this, but of which the first phase was Appendix A, and the second phase was supposed to be the changing places, and I'm not sure if it included anything else. There's no specific plans at the moment or agenda set for the timing of the changing places, no budgets. So that may or may not actually happen. It might be not 7 years away.
Can I please mark that? Just be absolutely crystal clear about this. The costings you've got in front of you include the changing places. So there's a budget provision in this proposal.
As a phase 2.
As a phase 2. The idea question is to get the toilet block converted up and running because things are against us, time is against us. We want to be ready for Easter next year, which is, believe you me, it's coming towards us so quickly. While the contractor's on site, he will then construct a trench with fresh water, electricity and foul water. The changing places give you a plan and mark exactly where they want them on the ground. So when the cabin comes, it connects into more or less straight away. As we're doing the construction of the toilet block, we're then putting a reinforced concrete raft with the services coming up through them. So the change place simply comes down, and nothing simple, because we probably holding a gale and bring it down here. You actually fit on top of the services. So it'll take probably less than a day to connect it up, bolt it down, and then commission it. It's all by one firm. The risk is with the contractor. It's not with Seaford Town Council. From the inside, the risk is with the Seaford Town Council. So the provision is so the budget provision is for the changing places. So the toilets, concrete ramp, and then changing places fits on top. There'll be a delay, there always is, but that is the actual plan. It's budgeted. This is why the actual cost is quite expensive. A changing place pod, for example, costs around £50,000. They're not cheap. They're very, very, very expensive. And that's why the slab probably costs about £7,000 and the trench toilets at £5,000. So you're probably looking about £65,000 for one change facility. So you run up to £70,000, everything goes wrong. You can take, with a 10% contingent, you could probably take £80,000 off this bill. But it's there because Seaford Town Council have made a commitment that we go ahead with changing places. That's why it's quite heavily weighted. Not the amount of what we're doing, but the amount of what it's going to cost for changing places. So we're quite clear about that.
Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
may I just...
Councillor, yeah.
Okay, so in that case, we need to make it clear on the notes of the minutes that the commitment is actually there in a phase 2 with maybe a timeline or something that defines when it's going to happen. And that'll be great.
Well, that would from tonight, to be honest. Sorry to sit you down. Sorry, Chip in. I just want it's absolutely clear. Providing the decision made tonight, then we can then get a preliminary instruction to the changing places and say, look, we're looking at employing you early in the new year. When we've appointed a contractor will then produce a bar chart. And he'll say, on such and such a week, and such a month, we want the changing places down here. I've also said that if we do appoint a contractor, there wants a cash flow analysis. So I can inform the finance officer each month how much she'll have to allocate per month to the contract. So you'll straight away, the first month will be nothing. Second month, it's say 8,000, 10,000, and eventually it tails off towards the end. And there'll be a big bill at the end for getting the changing places popped in place.
Thank you. Councillor Buchanan.
I'm sure, mate.
Okay, the thought that I was going to start with was this, at the moment there's less toilets there now than there were before, but it seems that the pressure on the toilets is not from the residents walking down the seafront and wanting to use the loo, it's actually from events that happen intermittently. So I think that there needs to be another thought process that goes into actually creating a very good toilet facility specifically for the fields adjacent to Montello Fields. And then that would take and then the toilets can be what they're intended to be, people walking along the front.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dubas, you did have your hand up. Did you still want?
I'll go last.
You're going to go last? Okay. Right, Councillor Meek.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, when in the previous administration, when we were talking about the toilets refurbishment, the first plan we had didn't have any cafe in it at all. We then went round to having a cafe in the toilets, and I was led to believe that the reason we had a cafe in the toilets was partly because people wanted to have an indoor cafe at that end of the beach, but also because the cafe concession money was going to provide money for the cleaning of the toilets. Because they would be Seaford Town Council toilets, not Lewis District Council run and maintain toilets. All the other toilets in the town, I believe, are maintained by Lewis District Council. So we would have to maintain these toilets ourselves, and that was the reason that the concession was going to provide this money. Also, the concessionaire was going to look after the management of the toilets, make sure that that was run efficiently from his point of view or their point of view. It's unfortunate that we seem to have a lack of toilets, but I absolutely understand what Councillor Buchanan said. However, my understanding is that the people of Seaford, the main thing they want is decent toilets. And that's always been what they wanted, is decent toilets. And the cafe was a kind of after idea. So I think we should consider that. I have to say, Town Clerk, I was really surprised to see this on the agenda, because in your faithful, absolutely everything, no surprises and complete, letting us know everything that's going on. To see this suddenly on agenda was quite a surprise and quite a shock. It would have been nice if we'd had a little bit of kind of lead into that, so we were prepared to be able to kind of talk about this. We haven't had any consultation about this change of plan. And I would suggest, from my point of view, I will not be voting in favour of it tonight because I think it needs more thinking about. As a plan, it may be good, but you can't give, I would not give my say-so tonight, because I think there are so many technical things that need to be sorted through. And I personally would prefer, at this juncture, if we want to go ahead of it, to stick with the original plan, because that is costed properly, is designed properly. The changing places, toilets, as Councillor Lord has said, kind of is a thing that you can just do. Whereas within the original building, I think that sounds dodgy to me, and I'd hate us to fall foul of running into any. Yes.
Councillor Meek, I'm very grateful for your intervention. Sorry, Chair. Thank you. And to say that you're absolutely right. The whole point of no surprises is to minimise surprises to you as councillors. And so the officers here will know, with in some ways somewhat heavy heart, that this happened, because I agree with you, two and a half years in, we've stuck to no surprises. For your sake, that's about building trust, it's about good working relationships between us, so it's very important. But faced with the situation that we just didn't want councillors to be left running the risk, effectively, of insufficient toilets within the design. So we felt, even though it was a surprise, and even though it wasn't late stage, out of fairness to you all, this alternative option needed to be presented tonight. So we have gone out of custom and practice to do that. I completely own that, Councillor. You're completely correct. But it's simply, we didn't want to just stick to the one thing, and then in a year's time you all suffer from not enough toilets in the area and people pushing back against you as councillors about that. Absolutely. So it was for your sakes that we are presenting this alternative option, so you will be comfortable with what you're doing going forwards. That's how we got to where we are. I appreciate it.
Just on the cleaning of the toilets, that actually is done by Lewis District Council for us. So it's part of the contract that we have with the toilet cleaning.
Oh.
Councillor Lindsay Sturton.
Madam Mayor, I've listened to the arguments tonight quite carefully, and I think there's some further matters on which I hope officers can give some clarification. Having a changing places standard of facility is about dignity for everyone. And it doesn't matter whether there's 19 or 190 or 19,000 people. For those that need that kind of provision, they need that kind of provision. So I understand, or I would be interested to hear what the alternative is. So if we don't build a changing places facility within this proposal, what's the alternative for Seaford? Bearing in mind the nearest alternative changing places facility, if Warwick House isn't available, is an exit. And I'd also like to hear a little bit more about what exactly is envisaged in terms of the planning process if we approve the proposed revised design. And we've heard a little bit about the difficulties of seeking planning consent. My understanding is that given that we would in this case, if we approve the revised redesign, we'd be effectively replacing light for light. So that although planning consent would probably be required, this would be a simple matter. It would possibly be done by a local planning officer under delegated authority. It's possible that you don't even need that given the amount of floor space and everything that's needing replaced, that it would be sufficient to apply for a certificate of lawfulness. Which of course is a much more evidence-based process. It's based on analysis of the historic use of the site, the percentage of floor space, the use of which has been changed and so on. So what do officers envisage in terms of seeking planning for the revised redesign, if that's the route down which we go?
So we've asked our planning officer, and he has said in principle he doesn't think we need planning. We wouldn't take a risk on that, and we would actually go forward and request formally for clarification on that. And we have been told that if it does need planning, but it is essentially a toilet block for a toilet block with a changing places unit inside, then it will be the planning. We will have planning by mid-October when we're starting to build. So the whole sort of tender process out is an expression of interest at the moment. It's going out to tender end of August, and we're expecting to start building mid-October with whichever plan you decide to approve.
And are there alternative proposals? Are there alternative proposals, whether in development or whatever, for an alternative changing places unit if we do not support
the plan that was, sorry, as a new councillor, that's an absolutely fair question, so we're going to clarify that, Councillor Sturton. Effectively, this motion is to approve a revised design layout. As have been making clear within the discussion, if you do not pass this motion, then the layout that was agreed in January will be the one that is taken forward, and that is to have the changing places toilet done in the second phase project externally of where the current kiosk is. So as I say, the kiosk would be demolished, a refreshment facility put inside the new toilet block, and when that work is completed, then a changing places toilet will be installed on the site of the current kiosk. That's the plan that was approved in January. So this tonight is to give you effectively the choice between the plan that was passed in January and this alternative proposal that gives a higher number of toilet units than that proposal. That's what's happening. So, Chair, just to be absolutely clear, for all of our benefits, including my own, we will come to the voting, I think, reasonably soon now. And when we know it's, I didn't say now, Councillor Homer, and we will come to the vote, it will be a recorded vote, and we will interpret the vote result in the way that I have described to you now.
Right, Councillor Rich Tunningham's next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, all very disappointing, really, isn't it? Yeah, there's no one officer was here. Everyone's changed really in the last few months or last year, so it's all brand new. So a lot of people. I don't know if any of the officers here have heard of the iconic cafe. Have you heard of that, anyone?
Yes.
You have. Former councillors have. 2 administrations ago, and it'd be interesting to see if Councillor Warburton to say anything about this as well at some stage. It's up to her, of course, so we can't force her to speak. Iconic cafe was 2 administrations ago. That was still the remnants of that. You know, when there was going to be cafe on stilts somewhere along the seafront down the Splash Point end, and also the salts on stilts. So there was 2 options going. It was a joint situation between this council and Seaford Town Council. So that, in a way, I think the previous administration of 15 to 19, when we started trying to alter the toilets to include a cafe, was, I think, a little bit part in mind. The fancy design was part of that. What we've got at the moment, the legitimacy of the, obviously I know obviously Councillor Lord's very upset, like I say, about all that work he did with the cross-party group before basically the last election. I think that's all very disappointing when I see how upset he is, and all the changes which have gone and seen. I don't think it reflects very well on the council at this stage to actually have all that, you know, on the table for us in front of us. And even you admit it hasn't really been consulted well. 19 responses is not really very high, and I think I can't the legitimacy of that is sort of so low that it doesn't really count. Other councils have talked about what's the point of the Martello toilets? Is it for the events? Is it for the seafront? Is it for the visitors? Is it for the residents? And one thing I will say before I finally finish, the existing, when we talked about the cafe originally 4 or 5 years ago, existing kiosk and the new cafe, proposed new cafe at the time, various guises. In a way, I was sort of told, well, no, we'll consider that later. They can look after themselves to the kiosk. But in a lot of ways, what you do in the toilet block, either way, whatever you want, you somehow have to include the existing kiosk in the future of that particular situation. Even the revised drawings, you've got entrances going literally right onto the toilet block now, as far as I can see. And I don't necessarily think that is necessarily. Yeah, just wrapping up a couple of sentences. I don't think that's necessarily very good because people do queue to adapt for the use of the existing kiosk there, and if you've got, I don't know, I'm not sure people really want to be queuing around toilet doors all the time. That's just something else I have in mind as well, just for the general well-being of that particular site. So there's a lot there, and I was quite surprised to see all this on the table, and I'm quite surprised we have to vote on it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rutland, you have already spoke, so this is for something fresh.
All I would say is all of us as councillors have a degree of expertise in one area or another. Councillor Lord has significant experience and expertise, probably more so than anyone in this room. Plan A works with everything with his experience, and we've already gone through this and we've already agreed it, we've already said that's what we're going to get on with. The residents are sick and tired of consultation after consultation, they just want us to get on with it. If we don't carry on with the existing design, we are failing our residents.
Thank you. Councillor Ruth Sturton.
Just a quick one. So the expressions of interest have gone out already. Is that based on Plan A or Plan B? And when the tenders come in and we decide what we're going to instruct on, which plan goes out to that? So essentially, I'm asking, is there a delay caused by any of the decisions we make tonight?
No, there isn't. The expressions of interest are to understand the companies who might be interested in working with us. The motion tonight will decide which plan then goes out as part of the tender.
Councillor Walraven was next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the Montero toilets have been talked about for the last 16 years as I know it. And there has been many plans. And it was unfortunate we couldn't do the rebuild because of costs and because of COVID, and we didn't get the grant from the lottery. But the plan which the working group put before us at that council meeting, I fully supported, and I still do, because no end of residents say to me it'd be lovely to have an indoor concession along the seafront, and which will work. This plan will work not just for the summer, it will work in the winter. And I think we've got to think about the winter times when we can still have an income from these plans. So I fully support the plan which has already been passed by council, and I will be voting for that plan this evening. Unfortunately, I will not be voting for the revised plan. I think we need to get on with it, echo what people have been saying, members have been saying, that residents are fed up. And especially with the beach huts at that end, they want something, decent toilets to use when they're down. So I'm sorry, but I will not be supporting the revised plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Weirmouth wants to speak.
We've got two quick questions. One of it is about changing places. Have officers actually been in contact with the Changing Places organisation?
Yes.
And are they happy with an internal design that isn't modular?
Sorry. In terms of the modular design, that's in partnership with RISE as was described earlier in the meeting.
Right. So, can it be built inside?
So it's been done before in Eastbourne. So yes, it can be.
Have you been in touch with, say, East Sussex County Council about possibly looking at hours and staffing for the Warwick House Changing Places facility? And how can we work with the other facilities, for example, the Sisters Exeat facility as well? Because it seems that we need to have an organised plan so that these profoundly needy but very small numbers of children and adults have an idea of where they can access these very necessary facilities for dignity and just having fun with their family, but not necessarily overlap things, because when you go on the website they have different opening times. So Warwick House is only open Monday to Friday, whereas the Seven Sisters facility is open 7 days a week with quite long opening hours. And I think we need to just have a look and be aware of that. It would have been very helpful, I have to say, to have had that in the pack, because that information is available, but it's quite, you have to go and look for it yourself. And my second question is about having been on community services several years ago and come back, there was always a concern about the building itself. And I see that after political and community concerns, the highest RAG rating is about what might be found when the building is actually surveyed, and how quickly are we likely to be able to get the building surveyed to make sure that any of our plans can proceed.
So just quickly on the change in place point, that's a really great point that you made. Just one part of it. Some time ago, the council tried very hard to work with East Sussex around changing place of Warwick House, and frankly got nowhere. But that is some time ago, so of course we would point you make absolutely fair salary good ideas in terms of the survey. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, so we have a drain survey done at the moment, which is where we think the real risk area is. That's down. There was a drain survey in 2016, which said the drains were fine. So what we're expecting is to find scaling, and we'll need to descale. But we've put it in as a risk, because obviously we don't know, but that process is about to happen.
We also heard that the roof was a concern to previous officers.
Yeah, we've had some, as part of the working party work, some surveying work was done around the building, and it was always very difficult, it was very reluctant to give reassurance to these things in case then something happened, you know what I mean? But the view then was that that building has withstood quite a lot so far, and it's still sound.
Thank you. Can I just take questions from anyone who hasn't spoken yet, because we're really getting tight for time, because we've still got other subjects we need to go through, and we need to finish by 10. So Councillor Matthews hasn't spoken yet, and we're going to have Councillor Dubois who wants to speak last.
Sorry, the question I had will determine how I vote.
Okay, Councillor Matthews first.
Just point of clarification, I think really, because I'm not talking about this bit, but in terms of hygiene and cleanliness, so I think my understanding is, so if the concession is within the toilets, the manager of the concession will ensure that the toilets are clean, and will have that responsibility. Would they also have the responsibility for changing places, wardrobe as well? Or if not, who would?
Yeah, part of the work around installing and changing places is making sure appropriate administration and management procedures are in place. That's again part of the work that was being done with Rise around the modular unit. So again, we take a similar approach to that, obviously make sure necessary arrangements are in place around access and management.
Right, Councillor Buchanan, and then Councillor Dubois, and then I'm going to wrap this up.
Thank you, Chair. This actually is a question, Councillor Broad. The changing places comes as a module, is that correct? You can't actually build it in space.
Well,
because if it comes as a module, you have to knock a wall down and drop it in through the roof.
Well, can I come back on this, Chair, or I'm going to talk all day ago? Basically, the changing place, to comply 100% to changing places, it comes as a module off the back of the wagon. And it's lowered into place and it's fitted.
So it would need a whole...
If you're going to put it inside a building, the building will need substantial structural work inside it to cope for various types of hoists and washing facilities, and the walls would have to comply with like having a swimming pool, because the washing place, the walls have to be washed down to maintain the hygiene standards inside the building. So, I'll be honest with you, I have looked at this, the building inside a leisure centre, and as good as leisure centre was, it basically proved unfeasible. And that's why Wheeling District Council now look at the location for a modular, for a building, a suitable site for a modular changing places. That's what we're looking for now. It's incredible. We're very fortunate. We've got a flat level surface, accessible by all. We're very lucky. If you go to certain towns, there are ramps and hills and this and other. So nothing's impossible, but for the sake of getting something on the back of a wagon posted in place, it makes life so much easier.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. Councillor Dubas, you want to speak last?
Thank you. So the expression of interest links to Appendix A, which is the cafe proposal. It does not link to Appendix B, which is not even on the council's toilet webpage. It is hidden amongst tonight's agenda. I'm concerned that any expressions of interest received may be biased and may exclude some companies who we might otherwise have chosen because they're looking at something else. So we need to be clear what these expressions of interest are looking at. Are they looking at changing places room, or are they looking at a cafe? Because that might affect who applies. So can we make it clear after this vote which one it is, and then if it is the cafe, that's fair enough. If it isn't the cafe, can we extend the time so other builders might come in based on the revised plan? So that's one point I want to make. The other point is, I've already mentioned East Sussex County Council are looking at the library and Warwick House, making the changing places space available. And perhaps we can offer some still money for that new location to be on an outside wall with the appropriate door so that it can be accessed, I don't know if 24/7 is appropriate or not. And that would give us a second changing place as well as the modular unit should we vote for Appendix A, the cafe style. Given that Council has already approved Appendix A, then I should be voting for that option. Thank you.
Right, thank you. I'm now going to, that's now stopping completing all the questions because time's ticking on. Right, we are asked to, and I think I'm going to take these two separately. So, one, to note the contents of the report. So can I have a proposal for that? And we're only noting the contents of the report. Thank you. Right, then number two, we have had a recorded vote request.
So we're going to do it as a recorded vote.
Right.
I'll just interrupt you briefly, Chair, because I know we have a lot of new councillors in the room. The recorded vote is actually very straightforward. While you all put your hands up at once, your names will be called in turn, and you will say for, against, stay. Okay? And just in terms of the order, you'll be alphabetical by surname. So Councillor Gordon will be first, just to warn you, okay? Because your surname's first in the alphabet amongst the 18 councillors who are present this evening. So I will call each name in turn, and you will say from... Sorry?
What about Councillor Ali?
Yeah.
Well, Councillor Shah Ali is what's on his thing in front of us. Okay. So I've taken Councillor Shah Ali as how I'm doing my order, Councillor Sturton, if that's okay with you. So as I say, we'll call each name, and it'll be the second motion that we're talking about, as has been explained. If you wish... Sorry, Chair.
It's Shahada Ali.
Yeah.
Ali's the surname.
Yes. Okay. That's fine. Okay. So, as I was saying, as was explained during the debate, to be absolutely clear, if you wish to go with Appendix A, you're voting against this motion, because then Appendix A will still stand when the January motion is passed. If you wish to go with the new design additional toilets, you vote in favour of the motion. Does everybody understand what they've got to do? Yeah. Good. So, Chair, are you happy to begin?
Yep. So we are asked to approve the revised Martello toilets design layout.
Okay, Councillor Ali.
I would like to go with the revised design.
Okay, so that's 4. Thank you. Councillor Bournemouth.
Against.
Councillor Bristow.
Against.
Councillor Buchanan.
Appendix A, against.
Okay. Councillor Clay.
Against.
Councillor Dubas.
Against.
Councillor Olivia Honeyman.
Against.
Councillor Richard Honeyman.
Against.
Councillor Horrow.
Against.
Councillor Law.
Against.
Councillor Markwell.
Against.
Councillor Matthews.
Against.
Councillor Meek.
Against.
Councillor Rutland.
Against.
Councillor Lindsay Sturton.
Against.
Councillor Ruth Sturton.
Against.
Councillor Warraven.
Against.
Councillor Weymouth.
Against.
That's a clear vote, Chair.
I
Thank you.
must have completely missed everything.
That's absolutely fine. It's just an opinion. It's all good.
Right, agenda item 13. We will have a break after this section. Agenda item 13 is to provide an update on the Walk the Chalk event and seek full council approval for proposed car parking solutions.
Okay, is Sharon introducing herself?
Yes.
Sharon, thank you.
We're here to note the contents of the report that's been submitted to Council, also to note the use of the Martello Fields car parking as a facility during Walk the Chalk event. As we've heard from Walk the Chalk that the car parking has come to limited options that are open to us for the car parking. We've looked at various options around the fields, up at the barn, fields at the bottom of the slope for the barn, and also any other available fields that the farm may have for the car parking. So the last or alternative option is to use the Martello Fields as a car park and a shuttle service for any visitors to the event to be moved backwards and forwards from the event.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. Any questions? Right, Councillor Richard.
I'll go second. Sorry.
No, you put your hand up first, so can you go first?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Obviously, both the Town Council and the District Council have got striving to be a bit more environmentally friendly, and you're obviously having a blanket car park for 5, 6, 7, 8 days, depending on how long the set-up and contractor vehicles. So I was wondering on that side of things, how you square up with not really following environmental policies, and how the residents will perceive seeing both fields being permanent car park. And also, as it's meant to be free at the moment, no admission for anything, is there nominated Walk the Chalk charities so people can donate to something? I don't know, obviously I've got people sitting right behind me, if they don't know it, is there one, and can that help to alleviate it's a completely clear bit, their donation to something, down here and up at the South Hill Barn and so on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Meek was next.
Thank you, Chair. Generally, in principle, I'm not happy with Martello Fields being used as a car park. In this instance, I would very much support this because I think that we're in a difficult position. We've got only a couple of months to go before this event, and I think it's going to benefit the town so much more. It's at the latter end of the year, grass and flowers aren't growing nearly so much at the end of September. I would be very happy with it for a 5-day event, but I don't think it should set a precedent generally. So I would support that, this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Councillor Bristow.
Thank you, Chair. Walk the Chalk promises to be a fantastic event, and I've been really lucky as a district councillor to have had a walking tour, which I understand is coming to town councillors soon. It's fantastic what it's going to provide for locals and for visitors. As a ward councillor for Seaford South, I am concerned that 5 consecutive days of parking on both Martello Fields is going to place undue stress on the local residents, but also I appreciate that some of them may like to take advantage of shuttles being there and so on. I myself lived in a flat nearby the Martello Fields, didn't have a garden. Many flats are nearby, people really rely on those green spaces. So I'd like a clarification on how long and for what hours of the day will the public not be able to use those Martello Fields? Is it going to be all day, every day for the 5 days, or is it just going to be the times when the event is on and round about those times? Obviously there'll be some setting up and so on, so I'd like to know that. Have any alternatives been explored, not for the whole 5 days, but for example, having 3 out of 5, say the weekdays there, the weekend there, and the others perhaps at a school which is closed at the weekend? Has that been explored? And also in the event of wet weather, 5 days in a row, vehicles on both the Martello Fields might leave them very turned up. So I'm not completely against having the parking there. I think, as Councillor Meek has said, I just wouldn't want it to set precedent for other events going forward. If it's really, really needed, okay, but what can we do for the local residents? Can we tell them, for example, that they can go there in the mornings and it's just PM that it'll be unavailable? Or what exactly is the arrangement going to be?
So at the moment, the walk the chalk walks will be in the afternoon and in the evenings, so I think we could have a conversation about that being open for a public space in the morning. Whether we would have to look at some options on what's available to us to make those fields be able to cope with any weather.
Sorry, Councillor, I know there was a question as whether it was going to be free, the car park, or would you be charged to use it? Do you know that?
Yes, it was going to be free because Walk the Chalk is a funded event, so everything's being paid for through funding, so it's a free event for the visitors.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lord.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It comes back to the old chestnut public conveniences. I'd like to see at least 3 chemical toilets on each field to alleviate the stress on the Martello toilets, because what we said originally was the fact that when we have events, the Martello toilets get flogged to death. So that's at least 3 in each field. We've also said that we're going to be, the Chincton area, the roads will be closed, be nice and quiet for residents. The only thing I have in common with the Martello fields, I share the same postcode. So I do hope that you've liaised with all the residents in Cricket Field Road, because if they're going to have a bus going past them every 10 minutes, and mine, I think I'm about 50 yards from Cricket Field Road, I will not be very happy for 5 hours a day, for 5 days, a bus going past every 10 minutes. In addition to that, there'll be cars coming into the car park that way. So may I ask, will there be a one-way system where you come down the seafront and into Martello Fields that way, and you leave that way? And also, with the buses, they'll be going up and down every 10 minutes. Now, if it's in September, I'm thinking the children go back to school in September. Therefore, when you're coming down Cricket Field, you'll be turning right onto 3 schools, like upper, lower school. There's also a nursery at the top end of the road as well. So has this been taken into consideration in your traffic management plan? Because if you put plonking a lot of traffic in one place, you created a lot of other problems with creating a road which is very, very quiet into a very, very busy road. And I know for a fact that people who live in Cricket Field Road, they're sick to death when we have a fairground down there, and people go up and down for just a few nights. If this is going to be 5 nights, or 5 evenings, afternoons, evenings, with schools in place, I know we've no little or no choice now, but really this should have been thought out before Walk the Chalk got itself together. So people and residents should have been consulted, not on Chincton, because they're miles away from it. One car going up a day, perhaps car park in the driveway. We're going to have several hundred cars parked in a very confined space, sorry church, a very confined space, coming in and out with school children, and the bus going every 10 minutes. Well, that makes an area very, very congested. And in addition to that, Cricket Field has parked cars on it as well. So in actual fact, it will be a single track way for traffic for a 2-way road, with a coach going down every 10 minutes. And don't forget, if it's returning every 10 minutes, it will make it every 5 minutes. So it's something which we think, oh, we'll pop it over there. But has it been thought through? Because essentially, unless you get a road closure notice, which times against you for that, and close Cricket Field down itself, It then sits on where the residents got to park on Cricketfield Road, because majority don't have a driveway. So it's something which has sort of been brushed under the carpet, but this late stage in the day, it's something which is a real issue for people, residents of Seaford Island, and Cricketfield Road, and 2 schools. There's also, when you turn around, there's also a business there, with, which is timber requirements, has contracted vehicles going in there more or less all day as well. So it's just something which we've got rid of one problem, but created several others. And I don't know really if this is a feasible location, or if it is the right location, doing what the chalk. If it is, perhaps it's scaled down slightly, so we don't have 2 full fields. And don't forget, the fields are used for dog walkers morning, noon and night. So where are they going to walk their dogs? There's only a few people, but surely they're ratepayers in the town, and they should have a service as well. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I have to admit, I was trying to work out the logistics of how, which was the, but everything was going to go through residential roads.
Yeah.
So I was trying to work out logistics as well.
Yeah, okay.
Right, Councillor Walraven was next.
Thank you. First thing, is it Cookmere buses also going to do the, I understand from the stations and bus stops, are they going to do the from the Martello Fields?
I think it was ODH.
As one council, I forget who said about, you know, as it's free, can a charity, but Cookmere buses do have a donation tin by the driver. So if anybody wanted to donate, they can donate to the Cookmere buses, which is all volunteers. The other thing is people who regularly walk up at South Hill Barn. I know it's going to be sort of afternoon, evening. Will they still be able to get up there in their cars in the morning?
That's something that we need to look at and discuss on the traffic management plan.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dubas.
You're asking us to vote on this evening, yet the traffic management plan is not in place, it's inadequate. I do the school run, and Cricketfield Road is a single-way road because of the cars that are there. You turn right towards Seaford Head School, there are cars parked on either side of the road. That is the single route road now. You can't get 2 cars past. You've always got to give way, there's always problems. As you go up that road past the zebra crossing, it narrows and there are cars parked either side because of the schools right up to the nursery. And it's just a one-way system because 2 cars cannot come down that road. I don't think that the traffic management plan is adequate for what's being suggested, and I won't be agreeing with it. Perhaps if it was just Saturday and Sunday and we could use the school car park, then that might be an option. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hyman.
Thank you for letting me come back a couple of points. Obviously, we're touching environmental stuff, we haven't really looked into any detail, so I'd love to see all the chalk plan at some stage with what they're doing in the environment, but we'll talk about from another day. A couple of things about using the schools, obviously weekends, very busy with the sports side, isn't it? Especially Saturdays, that time of year, you've got football really kicking in, all the sites will be used for that. Also, you've also got to think if it is a wet sort of September or early September, I'm sure the school manager would want their fields all being churned up as well with cars and everything, so that's something else. If you were going down that route to use the Seaford sites for the, what am I trying to say, the placement of the parking, that's what I was going to say. And finally, yes, I mean, management of the whole site basically, if the event's on 5-6 days, it's almost as though, and other councils pointed it out, okay, what happens in the mornings? Yeah, are we really, basically, it'd be easier if it was going all day. And also the issues with when it does get dark, all the light management, and are there lots of mobile floodlighting all around the top and everything around the poles? Because it can get quite scary if you're not used to being up there at night, but when it does get dark. If you're comparing it to the Tide Mills, it's slightly different there. It's flat, a lot of them hard surface. Up there, it's not. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Weaver.
I just had a question about cars and drivers who can't or won't park at Martello Fields. And then there's a knock-on effect going up towards Chington Road, Fitzgerald Avenue, Southdown Corner, Fairways Road. Are there going to be any traffic regulations there? Because I can see an awful lot of people getting halfway up, leaving their cars and then walking because they won't be able to get into Chington Way, but they may want to park outside Chington Way. So as a local resident round there, I can see that it's going to be quite difficult for residents actually accessing their properties around this area, all the way up to the view. And we need some sort of plan and some sort of agreement about the parking. But I'm very much in favour of this plan, of the event. I think it's a wonderful thing to see.
Councillor Rutland.
I have a question. It's not about the car park. My granddaughter goes to Chington School, Cradle Hill School. They recently had a day up at Hope Gap and South Barn. And the children were all out there for pretty much most of the day. There weren't any toilet facilities out there. A 7-year-old girl had to go for a wild wee in the bushes, which she found quite amusing. But there's going to be a lot of people doing this. Are there going to be adequate toilet facilities spread out and about around the route for people to make use of? I know we've done toilets to death tonight, and this is a question about car parks, but we also need to think about that subject too, because I don't think everyone will enjoy a wild wee. Well, maybe they will, I don't know.
So we can't place any toilets onto the actual reserve site, but we have got toilets, extra toilets coming to be placed upon the ring just outside of the barn area for people to use.
So keep your wild wee in place.
Right, thank you very much. Sorry, Councillor Vaughan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Obviously, I know officers have heard all the concerns from councillors, and I do echo a lot of these with the Martello Fields, but I also do understand there's a lot of restrictions coming up at Chington. We can't have anything come back to our next full council meeting on this because it's at the time of the event, after the event. So I would like to suggest that we, obviously you've heard our concerns and that you really fully take them on board and obviously discuss it fully with them. But is it then possible that something can come back to councillors just for us to look over before anything's signed, so we can have a full look at this traffic management plan, please?
Councillor Vaughan, would you like that to be effectively an amendment to the motion? So to add to number 2, to confirm let me have a go at seeing if I've got that correct. Confirm the use of Martello Fields as car park activity during the walking tour with a written report coming back to councillors before the event.
For approval. Kind of a approval, because any further concerns can be discussed via emails or something, if that's okay?
Yeah, because we won't have a meetings approval mechanism before the event. So as long as people understand approval is used in the slightly informal sense of the word, and no one thinks that we're going to convene an extra face-to-face council meeting, then I'm happy with that.
Right, Councillor Lord, and then I'm going to say...
Very quickly, Joe, I don't understand what this. As a part of the vote, can we ask for an addendum on that we have at least 3 chemical toilets, 1 on each side? Because the first thing you do when you drive anywhere, you stop on what you want to do. So could we on each side of the Martello Field?
Yeah, that's... we're doing that.
We're putting accessible ones in as well.
Excellent.
So we can confirm that without you. So Councillor Vaughan's proposed that amendment, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Can I just make a few comments?
Yes, sorry.
I just wanted to say that we actually there will presumably be chances for accessible parking, because obviously not everyone's going to be able to, people are actually going to need to park actually up at South Hill Barn, so we will need to have accessible parking. And I did make, I was a little bit concerned in Appendix A that we'd actually already sent a letter out saying that we had granted.
We didn't send a letter out.
Oh no, you haven't sent the letter out.
Just from Walk the Chalk.
Oh sorry, Walk the Chalk had already sent a letter out saying that Seaford Town Council has granted us the use of the Martello fields. So I was slightly concerned that the letter had gone out preempting that we were going to...
Yeah, that's fair.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, are we before you finish?
No, I just
That was very rude of me, I'm so
I
sorry.
wanted to just say a few things. Right.
So Chair, Councillor Ball has put forward an
Can I
amendment.
just ask you to clarify what the motion is?
That's what the town clerk is just doing.
Okay, so we'll have another go by handwriting. So I'm very grateful that Bex has made sure the video's on, so this will be recorded, okay? To confirm the use of, as it said, we're adding an addendum to number 2, Councillor Debate, okay? To confirm the use of Martello fields for car park facilities during Walk the Chalk with a further written report coming to councillors for approval. Would you like to improve that?
I don't like the approval at the beginning.
To confirm the use of the Martello fields, there wasn't the approval at the beginning.
Yeah, but we're confirming the use, we're not. We're waiting for a report to then confirm the use.
That's what this means.
Not to me.
Okay, does anybody, so we have, would there any other councillors like to just help to steer towards us coming to an amendment? Councillor Richard Honeyman.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, just what Councillor Bourne was saying, yeah, this is the last chance, so we can't really have further approval. I think people are interested to know how the traffic management scheme is going to be working, and also possibly what Walk is going to be sending out to the general public as well, because it's obviously going to be two different things, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
But I think what the public see as well would be interesting to see, is, or even if the draft copy what the public see, I think that's quite important. It's the public in the day and the residents who want to know what's happening. I think they're a bit worried at the moment. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Bristol, have you got a comment to do with the amendment?
Well, actually, it's quite crucial as to the going forward with this for the residents. Are they going to be able to access the green spaces both up at the barn and at the Martello fields for some of these 5 days, for example, in the morning? I think a yes or no answer would really help to inform how things go forward.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just clarify? With this amendment, it means that our officers and Walk the Chalk can have these discussions to clarify, because they've heard all our concerns, they can clarify everything, then this management plan can come back to us, so it will be discussed about all this parking and which directions the cars come to Martello Fields, which way the buses are going, whether people can access Southfield Barn in the mornings, whether they can access Martello Fields in the mornings, and when. Then it comes back to us, because we haven't got a meeting just over an email, we can read the report and then we can get back and say, yes, we're happy with it, or we want some extra information in it. Otherwise, we haven't got a council meeting where we can approve this.
I appreciate that.
That's why
the thing is, any number of reports can come back, but we can't necessarily, we can't then say yes, we approve, or no, we can't, because we've got to do that tonight. So we can have as much information as we want afterwards.
So what do you suggest that we do, Councillor?
Sorry, can we just have one conversation going on?
Sorry?
I just want information about what can the fields be used in the mornings or not.
Can I just propose, perhaps we can have an extraordinary meeting? When it's put forward, we've got the information, we've made a basic decision, we can come together and make one final vote. Emails and individuals, it doesn't really constitute a democratic vote on whether we take a motion forward or not. May I suggest that as a way forward, so that we're having a meeting now, we make a decision, or what information we've got, we get more information, and we're just on one item on the agenda,
okay, so
which would be that.
Okay, so that would be an amendment that would be, the amendment then would then be subject to a further meeting.
Yeah, just one item, please, Chair.
Okay, so
that's it.
So we've got 2 possible amendments. So, councillors, I'm really grateful to Councillors Gorman and Law for helping to try and steer us through. So you've heard both amendments. Would either any councillor wish to second either of those amendments? Councillor Rutland?
I'll second it.
Which one? Councillor Law. Okay. All right. Councillor Honeyman?
Thank you, Chair. Again.
Are you seconding?
No, amendment to what Councillor Lord said on the top. If we're going to have this next meeting, can it be a Zoom-based one, please? It's just one item. Does it have to be all in person?
No, it doesn't have to be, but
So you can see my point on
we'll
that.
put that in the vote. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Councillor Horror.
I'd like to second Councillor Gorman's.
So we've had Councillor Gorman's motion seconded as well. So, Chair, it really depends which order, what order should we take them.
Oh, this is the one where it gets.
Councillor Mead, would you like to speak?
Point of order. I don't think we're allowed to make a vote online anymore. It has to be in person because the government did away with it. You can't put council housing online and vote.
Okay, so, Chair, should we go on the order they were proposed?
Actually, Sharon's just made a comment which might make sense to say a lot of things. If we suspended standing orders,
yes,
just so that we can ask the question, and then that will save.
All right. Yeah.
So actually, that's a good option.
Okay.
So can I please have a proposal that we suspend standing orders? Thank
Councillor
you.
Bowman, second Councillor
Second,
Horror.
and then all in favour.
That's everyone.
Please can you answer our question?
There'd be plenty of toilets up on the site.
And there is already a toilet there actually, which your granddaughter could have used, so I'm sorry she had the wild wee experience.
I'm just going by what she told me.
Yeah.
Most I can understand all those queries and worries, but I do feel, to be frankly honest, that maybe you think that we haven't really thought about this at all. That's the intention that's coming across, especially from it shows. If Councillor Lord, with all due respect, you said the schools are going to be active. No, they're not at all. While our event is live, if you've actually looked at any of our literature, it's been very clear that we're open from 4 till 9, and then we're open on weekdays, and we're open from 1 till 9 on weekends. So a lot of these questions didn't need to be asked if you'd actually engaged with us in the first place, or engaged with our initial presentation to council. Green spaces, yes, they're going to be open. The car parks are only going to be open during the time of the events. The car parking at Cricklefield Road, we've got a gentleman here that lives at 55 Cricklewood Road. We've got a meeting with Sussex Events Limited and Security and Event Solutions, who are both very well versed in the Martello Fields. In fact, Sussex Events Limited do all the events that happen in the Martello Fields. We're in good hands. They know how to handle those fields, they know how to handle traffic. We're having a meeting with them on Monday, actually on site, to do this. This has come because there's been a breakdown in each time we've found a solution. There's been something to stop it. There's been a great neck crested newt, or there's been some fictitious tunnels under a field, or there's been just people saying things that are not actually true. So we've moved on, we've listened, and we've moved on to this suggestion, which was actually suggested very early on in our meetings with the council, that perhaps that should be the best solution. And we kind of said, no, we think we can get closer to the place. And actually, it's gone a full circle and come back to the wisdom of the Seaford Town Council and Sharon and the events team about where it happened. The space will be open in the morning. We're only open so people can walk their dogs. We won't stop people walking their dogs. Residents will have their permits to be able to get through. There won't be a problem. We'll have security on the roundabout. This is in a very new plan, which is yet to be approved by ourselves. And I might be speaking a bit ahead of ourselves because we need to discuss this with Seaford Town Council and our stakeholders. We've had all our stakeholders. We have Sussex Wildlife Trust. We have South Downs National Park. We have who else do we have? God, Natural England.
The National Trust.
The National Trust.
South East Water.
South East Water. We meet them every month. And they steer. We've got a steering committee. We've been really planning this for a very long time. And this is where we're at. And we're trying to listen to the community and work with the community to make this, this work. Of course, there should be facilities on Martello Fields for people to go to the toilets. We have thought about that. Of course, Cricklefield Road shouldn't be a two-way, buses trying to get out one way and another. And we're going to engage with the community as soon as we've got a plan that we know can possibly work. We can't wait until there's another meeting and another meeting and another meeting, because then the public will be too late. They'll be too late with their information. We need to get out very quickly how this is going to work, how people are going to get to the event. People are worried about how they're going to get to the event. We're going to be pushing so hard on it's an environmental event that makes sure that people get the transport. It's free. Come by public transport. Come by, it's a walking event. Walk to the event. It's a cycling event. Cycle to the event. Do come, and we're relying on, to great expense, free transport to get people from there. But people are going to drive their cars. They are. We can't stop people driving their cars. It's just the world we live in. So we have to cater for that. So we don't want a train crash. Well, we don't want a train crash. We don't want a car crash. We want to manage those cars, and we don't want Seaford to be gridlocked. We want to manage the people coming into Seaford. We want them to know by road signage and by our security and event stewards where to go. We will have signs saying, turn off. People will try and get close, we know, to Chington Lane and to the site. But we say, no, turn off. If anyone went to Love Supreme, there's signs simple. It says, turn off your sat-nav and follow event signage. So people will be in our control, our event signage control, to get to Martello Fields. And there will be some sort of one-way system, of course. And it's not going to be ideal for people around Martello Fields, but we will contact them. But we can't contact them saying, we might be having a car park in your thing. We need to come to with a firm solution. We need to, and this is, the trouble we're in now is because we haven't had a firm solution which we can share. And I can understand that some people are saying there's not enough information out. That's because we don't want to put information which is wrong out. And as you've just seen tonight, we're not infallible. We put out a bit of information which said that Seaford Town Council have approved. Now, the thing is, it should have probably said suggested, because we've had meetings with them, and we should have, and I can see that's caused some concern here. But that's not intentional. That's not trying to hoodwink people. We're not trying to hoodwink people. We're just trying to do the best we can and put on the best event we can. And the positive things about the event, I don't know if you know, it's been going on for months. We've engaged over 25 schools now. We've had 35 workshops up on the site. We've had kids that have never been to the site before from Seaford and from Newhaven and from special schools, Cookmere House. They came for a visit up to site. We've had people from Lewis. We've had the college is engaged, doing artwork. There's much work that's going on.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid I'm going to have to wrap up.
Sorry, as a member of the public, sorry to interrupt you. Could I just ask this gentleman a question, please?
Please do.
Yes. With regards to the people who are coming to do walk the chalk, you say it's from 4 o'clock till 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And these people are coming down by public transport.
Hopefully,
you say.
a lot of them, yes.
All right. Some will choose to come by car.
Yeah.
Okay, and they can park.
Cars will go to hopefully Martello Fields.
Now, if these people decide to stay there, we'd like to stay overnight. We don't have any hotels as such here.
Thank you. We do actually need to wrap this agenda item up because we do have another item to do. We have to finish the meeting by 10 o'clock. So
yes to all those things that I've said, we've thought about. They're in motion in our traffic management plan, which we're going to talk to extensively with Seaford Town Council and our steering committee about.
Thank you very much.
Hot off the press yesterday.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to reinstate standing orders. So can I have a proposal, please? And a seconder, and then all in favour. Thank you very much. Right.
Okay. So having heard the further questions and reassurances from the organisers, Councilwoman, would you not like to proceed with your amendment?
I'm quite happy to
Withdraw it. Okay. Councillor Lord, yeah, fine. You're going to withdraw your amendment. Yeah. So we're going to stick to the original. We're going to take the original motion.
Okay, so we're just going to take it as we have on this agenda item here. Okay. So I still think we take them separately. So to note the contents of the update report, can I have a proposal, please? And a seconder, and then All in favour?
Brilliant.
And then number 2 is to confirm the use of Martello Fields as a car parking facility during the Walk the Chalk events. Can I have a proposer, please?
Councillor Ballman.
And then can we have a
Councillor Warren.
seconder? And then all in favour?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad we, thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, so we're going to, Chair, can we make a 5-minute break now?